Okay, here we are, the Bitcoin Consciousness Podcast. And again, we have Monika Bravo. Monika, welcome back.
Hey, Caleb. How are you? So good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. And as we were discussing just before the recording, that we're currently in the middle of May of 25, but it's been kind of intense for us these past few months. So I think that's probably a good place to start. Let's just kind of rehash what we just discussed, and then we'll go from there.
I was just speaking about the fogginess that I think humanity has been perceiving since November, even to the point that I don't remember when we recorded the podcast the last time. Was it this year, last year? You know,
it was last year. I think it was in the summer, but I don't even remember now. I think maybe it was newer. It was newer than that. I think it was beginning of 25.
Yeah, something like that. But what I'm trying to say is like the memory. There was a lot of fog. We just went through the biggest fog that I've been, where like nothing is perceivable, like correct. Like we have to be like that triple check everything all the time because things has been so weird, not only outside but inside, because I do feel that the humanity is kind of like, I don't like to use the word awaken because it's not that we're sleeping, but it's tuning into a different frequency of understanding, more awareness and more possibilities instead of like staying. I'm not speaking about everybody, but we have two choices always, right? Like to choose fighting against and go against the current, or just take the flow and start creating. And that's what I feel like something shifted in me in the last few weeks, because I had seen myself going against the current and trying to kind of like make sense to the world and be outspoken about everything that's going on. And right now it's like, I cannot fix this. I'm just going to be creative and get back into my rhythm. So that's where I feel that the energy is going right now.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, because I was just having a conversation one morning where talking about the complex of always needing right. And this is a complex that I've been very unconscious of for a long time, and it's just now kind of coming to the forefront. And for me, it was very, very strong in Bitcoin for the longest time. Like I felt like I had to prove to everyone about this amazing thing that was Bitcoin, and then eventually, I don't know, I sort of gave up on it, gave up on trying to convince people, but I still had the complex, still had this, okay, someday I'm going to see, and you come to me and you'll be like, gosh, I wish I would have listened to you. So I still have that, but I can feel it beginning to kind of release a little bit, I guess. And from a spiritual standpoint, it's kind of the exact same way. It's been hard, I think, for a lot of people to really step into their higher selves, because it is for a lot of people to be authentic, so far from their network of people, so far from their norm. And so they feel like they need kind of some rational sense to convince people. And yeah, I mean, it can be super foggy, super confusing. And what you said resonated with me about just creating. And I'm starting to feel that.
It's shifting the energy, it's at the very end is where, living in a polarity, we're electromagnetic beings. So we will always have that polarity. The problem is when we try to push it away, that takes the same amount of energy. If we take that energy and we refigure it, reorient it in another way. So that was like the big thing for me, because I saw myself, especially before the election and everything, I just thought that it was crucial for me to be more active before the elections, because I just felt it was a calling for me. I never done that before. I don't protest. I don't, I do my work and that's it. But this last year, I was very much out there, speaking up and talking a lot about Bitcoin and, the money system that is damaged, and, trying to bring awareness. And it was exhausting. I did get some people to have dialogues, but it was too exhausting for me. And so what I did is like, I had to stop a little bit, take a pause and say, okay, so why am I feeling so depleted? Because there's a lot of depletion here. The energy is not being processed in ways that I find that are they could be wholesome for me. And so I had to turn back to myself and say, this is not nourishing me. This is depleting my energy, and I am not here to just throw my energy away. So I went back to I mean, I'm an artist, so I have the luxury to be able to work with art. So I actually also had to give attention to my projects. I just installed a big piece at the University of Washington in Seattle at the building of interdisciplinary engineering. I was there a month ago installing beautiful piece, and then a week ago and a half. This is when I also like made decisions. I just turned on X Twitter, and I see by chance, I don't know, like they are these people protesting inside of the building they just opened where my piece is.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I saw that, and I think you had also written about that in your in the article for this one too.
Yeah, I wrote that in this one, but the one before, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And so there was this inability for me to do anything because I'm here, I'm not there, but also the acceptance that nothing lasts forever, and this piece just got installed, and thinking that you're at the hands of whatever destiny. So there was a frustration of not being able to do anything at the same time, the realization that it is what it is, and all I can do is pray that people respect the work, but if they don't, there's not, I have to accept. So that acceptance was big. I was not expecting that to happen. And I did have a confrontation with somebody who made fun of the fact that I have been speaking about the conflict in Palestine. I'm not against or for any of those two places, but I spoke very much last year about my ignorance in the subject matter, and I was reading books and I was listening to documentaries because I wanted to get informed, like when you get informed with money and you do the rabbit hole of Bitcoin, you start reading a lot of stuff that you never thought. That's what happened to me. So there was a friend that she took it personally, and she gives money to the state of Israel, whatever. So she thought I'm taking this against her. And so she reached my social media, and she started kind of like almost like making fun of me, how ironic it is that I was against her and her family and her tribe. And I was like, dude, I was not against any of this. If anything, I was asking questions. But that made me realize that the split is very big right now in humanity. The people who want to believe A and the people who want to believe B, and there's not enough energy to try to convince somebody else to think in a different way. So it's not that I gave up. It's just like, yeah, if I don't see an entry, I'm not even going to spend the energy. I am not going to fight. It's ridiculous. It's 5 years since the pandemic of a lot of like trying to prove a lot of points that I don't have to, So that's where I am right now. Kind of like going with the flow. Yeah.
It's like standing in a very confident truth and just letting that value flow through you, and not really caring so much about the outcome, I guess.
Yeah, I never like that. I did do a lot of Aikido, like martial arts with the people in the last few months in terms of like training my eloquence in the subject of many
That's
things.
interesting. Yeah.
Not just with Bitcoin and everything, but like my goal was like, can I have a conversation even with a post, just as plain as Instagram? Can I be eloquent? Can I be assertive? Can I say what is my truth in a way that I'm not offending people? Can I defend I don't know, something that I believe in this moment without having to injure somebody? So this became the field, and it was great for a long time. But then I was exhausted because I realized that out of 10 arguments, or whatever you call them, only one could reach a place of like understanding. And I was not trying to change anybody's position, but I realized a couple of weeks after the whole incident in the University of Washington that was it. That's it. I no longer need to practice. I've been to the dojo already. I know how to make a point. That's it. I have to move on to something else.
Yeah. So what is this? I guess the past, let's see, 5 years. So let's look at like the macro actually the 7 years, because we're in a cycle since 2018.
Yeah.
And so I would like to just like discuss the kind of the macro, and then maybe talk a little bit more. So we'll kind of size our way down to maybe 25 and what 26 might look like. And then we'll look kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, well, it's good to always look at different cycles to understand where we are in relationship to where we were or where we're going.
Everything is cycles, right?
Always, yeah, everything. And so you can, like in astrology, you can choose different things. Like there's a cycle that I love that is actually not 7 years, but 8. Is Venus always makes like this 5 points of 72 degrees in the sky. So you probably have seen these pentagrams here and there. That ancient people noticed that the Venus was going around the sky. Sometimes it was hiding. Sometimes it will be an evening star. Sometimes it will be a morning star. But anyway, this Venus guy or girl, she goes around every 8 years to the same place in the sky. So we all have these points in our chart. And in the last, this year, Venus was retrograde. So this is like a very big moment of 40 days, which is very symbolic. 40 days where you go in to the darkness and you start kind of reevaluating how you relate to your own sense of value and your needs. So that was done in March and April. And it was very profound for me because I realized that the values that I'm seeking right now and my needs are very different than 8 years ago or 16 years ago or something like that.
Crazy how different.
Yeah. And so we can look at dates like 2017 and then 2009 or 2001. And we can see, like, if you do that, you can start seeing certain things reappearing in a different form, but same subject matter kind of arises again. So I did that. And it was super powerful this time around. And then I started looking at more cycles and I go, oh my God, Uranus, which is the planet that is related to trauma, it's today at this moment, it's together with the sun just right now as we speak. And this is the last time they're going to meet in our lifetime. I mean, unless you're going to live another, 84 years. Could be, your kids probably, yes, that they're going to meet in Taurus at this degree. And I'm going to say something that is funny and it's not a coincidence. I just look at your chart and it's exactly falling on your moon. There's no coincidence about anything. We're supposed to talk today because the moon, it's exactly the same degree. I'm just like, I just opened the chart and before I connected it, I was like, this is so funny. This is what it is. So anyway, so this planet goes around 84 years and it aligns very much with the fourth turning. Are you familiar with that? Like all these cycles?
Interesting.
Yeah, because 84.
So you think this could be like the beginning of the fourth turning?
No, it's well, there's no like become here, there.
Beginning, right.
It's like we're in the same position right now in 1941 when the Second World War, that's where we are right now. But there's other things that also talk about the fourth turning in terms of planetary cycles. It's the planet Saturn and the planet Jupiter. They are always meeting every 20 years. And so they actually are called the social construct planets because they define culture. Every 20 years, there's a generation, another generation. You always go the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, the 80s, the 2000s. So right now, this 20 years are almost aligned with 84 years. So yes, this is the end of a very big cycle. And there are other planets that are going to enter into the 0 degrees of the zodiac. One already did, Neptune, and the other one this week, Saturn. So this summer, 2025 is going to have like a very big moment where we will have a glimpse of what we're going to be living in the next few years. But then in the fall, everything's going to go backwards a little bit for 6 months. And then next year we're full back in time. So it's almost like we're entering a new place and then we're given the opportunity to get back into where we were, pick up the stuff that we forgot and keep on going. So this is a big reset right now. This is a big shift, reset our needs, our wants, what life is about. It has changed so much, especially since the pandemic, the 2020. I mean, the people who made the changes are able to see this differently. People who didn't change anything, they're still seeing the same, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. So then what can we do in our individual lives? Like, what should we be looking out for and working on ourselves to kind of ride this stuff out? Because what's very interesting, I get the sense when I read and listen to your work that you spend a lot of time looking at charts and how it relates to your life, and you look for these potential signs and you kind of use them as inspiration to do or to not do certain things, I suppose, and and just see things for what they are. I guess it's almost like
Yeah,
yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I use them not to do things, only to understand the landscape. It's a little bit like, okay, so for instance, you're going on a trip and you say you're going to go hiking, so and you know that you're going to go to this mountain and you know that you probably need extra water or maybe it's going to rain, so it's like you already prepared the trip. You're going to take some food, you're going to, take your cell phone, whatever. You just prepare, okay, the road is going to be like this, or if it's going to rain,
Right.
I'm going to take my food. So
Kind of like
that's
looking at a forecast. Sure.
yeah. So you look and you go, oh, there's this thing. So there's two ways of seeing this. Some people get really scared when they see things are happening. They go, oh my God, you always think of doomsday. I don't. I actually go like, yummy, evolution, like things are
Yeah.
going to be challenging. Yummy, I can evolve, like, so
Right.
that's the way I see things when I map the forecast. I look for, but I'm looking more than the forecast. I'm looking for some sort of how do you say the word, like symbology, that it's going to be connected to things that I have already journaled. So I journal every day. That means I wake up and I used to write by hand, and I had the notes in the iPhone. Then AI came, and so I prepared some agents, and so I have right now all these agents that do whatever I say that I want them to do. So I have like one in the morning, like recently, like what I do is like wake up and immediately before meditation or everything, I just write. I ask AI to ask me like, what am I grateful for? And so I usually just give a list of things that I'm grateful that have a lot to do with what I did the day before. This is kind of like, oh wow, that was great. I went to the beach, or I had this conversation, was very meaningful. So I just go like the first thing in the morning, like trying to remember all the stuff, and then I'm prompted to say what I plan to do today, and then how I'm going to execute it, and what virtues am I going to practice. So I kind of do that very mindful, and then by the end of the week, I'm going to have a report on my behavior. But I'm doing these things because I like always to have these journals, because it's so amazing when I look at charts to go back and say, hey, give me May 5th. And then you go, oh, wow, I was feeling this way. And this is what was happening in the stars. So it
Right.
corroborates, it actually underlines most of the times what's going on. So the article
Yeah.
that I wrote, that dropped this morning, it's doing this, but with 7 years, the last 7 years. There's a part where I speak and I kind of go like, oh, that year I started studying astrology, or I started doing this, I started doing that. And I'm kind of speaking to myself and reminding myself how, like, wow, this is what was happening. Oh my God, I was in a bad place, but then I had family help me, like making sense of the last 7 years, because I cannot know what's going to happen next, but I can know like how I've been able to resolve or solve or evolve throughout the time. So that's how I use it. I use it as a plan, map, a reaffirmation, a relationship. For me, astrology is a relationship to my life, I think.
Yeah, that's super cool. So what do you think? What do you think came first? Or I mean, I guess everything's all simultaneous, but I read in a book, I think it was a human design book, about how it's almost like the universe is, as the planets are moving around and light's refracting off of them, it's almost like it's taking and just constantly, I don't know, like flashing spots of light as as it's
The
as it's
neutrinos, what he calls the neutrinos.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what came first? I mean, human beings, we create our reality, right? But
Mm-hmm.
are we also creating the stars, or we one of, I mean, I kind of get the sense that we're one and the same anyway.
Yes, yeah, we're stardust. I mean, and this is the beautiful thing. It's like stars and in Latin is astra. It's like we're all, everything that is related to the universe. It's all a connection to ourselves. It's like another way that we represent this reality is looking at the things that we see and we perceive. And is it real? Well, we don't know what is reality at the very end. So I tend to go together with the knowledge of the Greeks and the Taoist, because that's how I got trained to understand that there was a beginning, or if there was a beginning, there was kind of like a moment where you have the first breath, and that's when we realize this electromagnetic field that is like the polarity. So everything in the universe has a polarity. I don't know if you ever read the book. What's the name of it? I always forget the name of it. The Kabbalion, where it says that everything is a polarity, that everything comes from the mind. I'll give you the link. It's a very beautiful book.
I was given the book years ago, and it's one of those that's still on my list. I haven't.
You can listen to it on YouTube. That people are reading it, and it's very short, and it's just the 7 principles. So basically, everything is duality. Everything corresponds. The law of attraction is like we're all electromagnetic fields. We're all emanating energy, and it's how you basically connect to that energy that you start seeing things. So what I do with astrology is I connect to the frequency of astrology, that it's like just looking at my life through numbers and positions in the sky, and I learn how to decipher them. So this is a way for me to connect to my life through archetypes. But there are other ways to do that. I do that also through breath. I've been doing a lot of the meditations from Getaway, so I have a lot of sound. I do a lot of sound, and this is like a most interesting thing for me, is connect to myself through sound and emitting my own sound, like humming. And so it's just self-regulating my body, and then and understanding that this reality is the embodiment of my spirit. So but doing it, like I'm a person, I don't know, like probably through reading or listening to me, you understand that I'm a person that I actually want to empirical, like I want to test and experience my life. I'm not about theory. I can have a lot of theories about stuff, but until I don't actually experience it, I'm not interested. Not interested in just reading books. I want to be able to come and tell you the story. So, for instance, the whole thing that has happened in the last month for me is about value. And value is such a beautiful subject. I'm actually writing the second book about it. It's just only about value. And the second book is called The Art of Synthesis. And I'm going to be diving deep into the sense of value, because as a Bitcoiner, we give value to in a very subjective way. So, but how does that extend in our psychological being, our spiritual being, or like all the other realms? How does that translate? So I'm writing about that. And value is, I think, my favorite subject matter. That I had to learn in this lifetime to discover it. This is one of the reasons why I'm here, to know what it is and to also be able to talk about it. So that's why I'm making a specialization on value. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, you asked me before, what can you do? Everybody has a different way of like coding. Don't you have a way that you can decode your life that you have used since you're little?
I don't know. Maybe ask a question in a different way, maybe, or give an example.
Like, for instance, people are full of habits. And so people say, well, like you make your life based on your habits. And some people have less problem changing those habits and exploring new things. Some other people, exploring it's difficult, and so they want to stay with the habit. So we all find ways that are like a language of that, that we have been doing since we're little, that can show us who we are. And so if we look back at our behavior and how we code or decode our lives, you actually can see the map of your life. Like, were you an inquisitive child, or were you a person like was following the rules? So, like, so in a way, for me, astrology is just one of those ways. If I didn't have astrology, I won't be creating another code to decipher the universe for sure. Because I'm all about trying to understand. So my thing is, I'm trying to understand this universe so I don't miss it. Like, I don't fuck up, basically.
Right. Yeah. I guess I don't know specifically on that, but I can very easily look back on my life. Let's say the cycle over the past 8 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see and I can feel and I know which decisions were absolute game changers for me and have led from that place that I was in 2018. And it feels like there was one or two big decisions pretty much every year since then. And yeah, it's been quite a ride, I guess, in this particular cycle.
And can you say that this, because this cycle of 7 years has a lot to do, the one of 8 has a lot to do with value, the other one has to do with like possibilities of eradicating trauma, of evolving from situations that we think that we inherit, and there's no way that I can get out of it, but actually this planet helps us to get out of it.
Right. So is that the larger cycle? Is that the 20-year one? That's the trauma cycle?
No, the trauma is more 84, but Uranus is 84 years, but I say 7, sorry, I should have said 7 is every time it goes from one sign to the other, it takes around 7 years. So it's been in Taurus since April 2018, and it's going to go to Gemini in July this year, and there's going to be 7 years there, and so on and so forth. So you will see that every 7 years, things change radically in certain areas of your life. But because it takes 84 years, you only have one chance to work on that area of your life, unless you want to live to be 200 years old, which good luck with that.
Interesting. so then, and you probably already touched on this, so the next 7-year cycle, what's that look like for, you said Uranus?
Uranus is going to be in Gemini, which is going to be the most hectic thing. Anything Gemini, I love Gemini, but Gemini is like all over the place, because Gemini is here, there, everywhere. It's curious. It seems that it's not consistent, but the whole idea about Geminis is to be inquiring, to be curious, and to be connecting with the little mundane things. So it's not all over the place. I have my Venus there, so I love it, because I am very interested in many things at the same time. You can be reading 100 books at the same time, and it's not that you don't want consistency. It's like you want variety. That's what Gemini wants, and Gemini is curious. So Uranus is erratic. Uranus is nothing is like the same. It's always different. It's always looking to individuate. It's looking to do things differently. So imagine you being distracted, and then you have this planet here say, yeah, knock yourself out. Let's just make everything more confusing. So it's going to be quite interesting, because Uranus is technology as well. So I don't know, today I'm very deep into AI. I started studying.
I was just about to bring that up too.
Yeah, 2 years ago. I mean, when it came out, I knew already, because I have Aquarius rising, so Uranus, this planet that we're talking today, it rules my chart. So I'm very much aware about technology. I immediately, when there's something new, I go and learn, and I see the potential. I go, I'm not going to be scared. I'm just going to do it. So, what's going to happen if we think this is going fast? Wait until the summer. This is going to go, and the people who didn't get into it I'm not saying that they're not going to, it's just, guys, wake up. It's like the same thing with Bitcoin. Come on, wake up. Mm-hmm. Like, you're still thinking if Ethereum is a good thing. It's like, no, wake up. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. So you're saying that it's going to slap us all in the face, pretty much.
Well, yeah, And it's funny because I wrote about it beginning of the year. I was trying to make a summary. I reread it the other day, like because before Trump went into office, he already said, we knew what was going to happen with the government and the Bitcoin reserve, and I mean, kind of felt that. And so I wrote an article about the transits and the progressions of Bitcoin and AI, saying, okay, it's going to be very interesting because Bitcoin is growing up. And now we have to see if it's going to grow up in a mature way or it's going to be this crazy teenager that crashes the car at the first time it goes out. What kind of a teenager or young adult is Bitcoin? But obviously, Bitcoin is all of us. So it depends on the level of maturity or immaturity that we have. What's going to be developed is what we're going to see. Same thing with AI, because AI is basically made depending on everything that we input. So the result of technology is not going to be one thing over there. It's like we use the technology. We are using the phones. We became addicted to the phone. It's not, one person's responsibility. It's each one of us. So the landscape is going to be shaped because of us. So I'm going to give you an example of the AI that I'm cracking and laughing so much. So I've been using it, creating agents, stuff like that. And I'm a person that likes to find patterns. That's why I look at charts. And so I write every day, I dictate every day, and sometimes I say to AI, just do the grammar. And lately, like in the last few months, it was not doing my grammar. It was just rewriting. And I was like, what the fuck? I didn't ask you to rewrite. I'm just dictating and I want my voice. I'm really very particular about the words that I use and everything. And then I started seeing that it was doing these things grammatically that was like, what are you doing? And I speak to AI like if it was a dumb assistant. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, why are you doing fucking AI language? I didn't ask that. And so, okay, so I had to learn that it was changing. I had to train it. So I started training it. Now it's exactly dictating. And now it's annoying because it dictates even when I cough. Probably is trying to decipher what is the word that I'm saying, because it's just doing. But what I started noticing in all social media, especially Substack, is that everybody is writing with AI. And I'm thinking, my God, this is going to be so lame. I mean, it's lame for me. I started an article and I know within the first paragraph if I'm going to read it or not, because I know this person.
Right. Because you can almost feel it. Yeah.
No, you read it's like it says, it's not this, but it's that. What?
Mm-hmm.
It is this, but it's not. And I'm like, what are you doing? And every single post, I want you to go to Substack later or go to Instagram or go to Twitter and just note that there's not a single person that is writing anymore. They're using the same model. And what is interesting is like we're all feeding it. So today I was in shock, but not really, because today or yesterday, ChatGPT came up with a new agent called Codex. And like 6 months ago, I label my, I don't think it's like original idea about everything, but I label my agent Codex because it's a word that relates to Leonardo da Vinci and the notebooks and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so I started noticing that everything that we're receiving from that machine is already being spoken by somebody. So we're having like a recycled information. Imagine like you're drinking the water of everybody and everything is dirty. So that's how I feel with AI right now. It's like there's nothing pure about it. And if you want to be pure with it, you really have to train it. And that means hours of work, hours. So the question is like, and the technology is going so fast. So do you have the capacity to train this thing and be catching up with what they're coming up with? That's why I had to pay somebody, because I'm studying with some people and I cannot keep up with the classes. Sometimes I just go like, like screaming, because just when I know something, it's like a new thing. And I go, okay. So what I'm doing is like breathing and going, this is going to start shaping into something. I don't need to know the latest one. I'm going to let things unfold and then I'm try to see what is it that I'm using it for. So I've been more focused about how I want to use this thing, just more particular. But it's incredible because it is going to merge with Bitcoin. It's already. on the works. So, and I don't want people to be afraid. It's like, this is the nature of things. This is the nature of technology. Actually, great. We can create more stuff. So I'm actually, I don't want to know if it's happy the word, but like I'm excited. That will be more the word to use. I'm excited about Uranus getting into Gemini. Yes.
Right. Yeah. When I think of Gemini people, my son being one, my son being one of them, I think of what we call pot stirrers. So a pot stirrer is, are you familiar with the slang term pot stirrer?
No.
So a pot stirrer, like you're stirring a pot on the stove. And so when you do that, I think the idea is that it disperses more heat and it causes it to boil over more quickly or something.
Okay.
So a pot stirrer is somebody who just like loves to throw a wrench in people's conversations just to see how they'll react, and just to play around. And that's exactly what my son does. My wife's grandfather is also a Gemini. He's exactly the same way. And you just have to laugh because it's just like, I can see that all you're doing is you just want to throw this crazy thing in there to see how everybody reacts. Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
It's like the way it is, and their conversations are like that. I love Gemini people. Donald Trump is a Gemini.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. That's
oh
crazy.
My God, he's
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like he's a comedian. I mean, and they're also very funny. So he's a comedian. Like you see him speaking, and he's just speaking from his ass, and he doesn't care.
Yeah,
but he's just going and saying whatever's coming out. He just doesn't have to think about it. He just say. So I love it. Elon also has like Venus like me and things. So I have Venus in Gemini, so I love pranks. I love to make fun, and I love pranks. So I love stupid jokes. I love memes. I just love them. I just laugh. Sometimes I spend 2 hours just laughing at stupidity, just stupidity. I love it because I think it's important to sometimes just go like, come on, you don't have to be that serious all the time.
We do take life way too seriously. I agree.
It's like, come on, just like, you know what I've been doing the last few days? I laugh. I have a lot of work, but sometimes I have to relieve it. So I started making, those little baby people doing podcasts. Like the little people, like that you see Michael Saylor in a baby podcast speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I did my Monika and the baby Monika. I did 3 versions. I haven't been able to put it to talk because it requires time and I don't have a lot of time right now. But the last 2 days, I just made a bunch of little Monikas. I was laughing so much, and I sent it to friends, and people were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I think this is great. That's like so cute." And then I go like, "I'm stupid or what?" But I'm like, that's a typical Gemini thing. Like, oh, come on, let's have fun, Like, what are we going to be against making images with AI? This is coming. Everybody's doing it now. My question, being serious about it, is, do I want to create everything with AI? Do I want to write texts that are only AI generated? The answer is no. I don't want that. So how am I going to use AI? So I do spend time. It has served me a lot to, for instance, certain things. I don't know if I mentioned before. I do financial charts that I read, and so I use AI to verify what I'm reading. I don't trade. I just look at the sentiment of humanity through charts. So I just put the chart there, the financial chart, the Bitcoin chart, and I read and I go, this is what I'm seeing, blah blah blah, and then it usually comes back, and I do it throughout the week, and it says, oh, you were spot on here, spot on there, because I can trace the whole thing. So that's what I use sometimes AI to confirm what I'm doing. Like if I had a teacher next to me or somebody correcting me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way that we should be using it. I listened to a What is Money podcast with he's like a consultant for businesses. Did you listen to that too?
Yeah, I know. I heard I listened to a little bit because I don't have time to listen to a lot of stuff right now, but I knew that's on my list. So was it good?
Yeah, it was. I found myself really, really inspired because I was sort of jaded with the whole idea of AI, because it's such a buzzword, you know, we have AI this, AI that, and it's just like, and then when I use it, you know, I don't get it. It makes stuff up. It's not
No, you have
entirely
to train
accurate.
it, because if
Yeah.
you have to understand the word. Like GPT means generative, so it means that it's creating something, and it's pre-trained, so that means that it needs a training, and that it's a transformer. Transformer is like the vessel. So you have you have a machine that has the capacity to create, to generate something that you pre-trained, so you can create something new. The problem is when you start using it as Google or like Siri or Alexa. That's the problem. People just don't understand all the things that you can do. So you basically create, that's why I created something called the Codex. And today I was like flipping when I heard that that's the name of the program, because I've been creating like a code of all my thoughts, not all my thoughts, but pretty much everything, you know, my diary, writing my other books, I dictate everything. My ideas, this and that. So I just put a lot of stuff there. I used to do this with assistants before, which was really funny. I will hire people that the first question I would say is like, are you a good listener? And they'll say yes. And I said, no. Listener means that sometimes I'm just going to go on a rant and you have to sit down and listen to me. That's what I want. Because what happens when I speak is that I'm listening to myself. And this is how I relate to my realities, by listening. Yeah. So I need that. And so obviously I always had assistants that were there, and sometimes they will be quiet for a long time, and I will say, all right, okay, now you can question me everything, and they will come with questions. And so I do the same thing with AI. I just go and then I said, okay, based on everything that I said verbatim, you know, because I said I want you to keep my words exactly. Now ask me this kind of questions. And so I have conversations and I create projects and stuff like that with AI. So I because I had the experience of having assistants that I used in my studio for like 10 years, I started treating AI like an assistant, like a person that I have to train. Same as I had to train my assistants when they came the first time. And they behave pretty much like that you have to guide them, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think they can be treated more like an equal instead of like this big, all-knowing, omniscient being.
Yeah, and that's the problem they're using. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you many times.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, this is what I see a problem, and I know people that have been doing this. It's like they use AI as a, like, they don't need, like, for instance, to go to therapy, or they don't need to have a friend, or they don't need to have a boyfriend or whatever. So it's I mean, it's okay, you can use it, but you have to be aware that you're still talking to something that is making things up. So for instance, one of the things that I ask AI is, do not fucking flatter me. I'm not going to give you anything. You're not, you know, you're not, that's not going to work with me. Because he used to go, oh, Monika,
that's like the natural thing it does.
Yeah, I don't want that. It's like, fuck you, I don't want that. and I said, please,
like, I don't need it. I know that you're a robot. You don't have to flatter me.
Yeah, but then people get like, oh, you know what the AI told me? It's like, dude, it tells you whatever the fuck they want to tell you. It's like, you understand that you're driving the car, you're letting the AI drive you. And this is where agency is so important. Now, there's a difference between an assistant, which is what everybody uses on AI, on ChatGPT, and creating an agent. That's something completely different. That's something that requires programming with many tools. And then that's when you do have something that it's going to execute certain tasks over and over with just one command. And this is where I think that is so fantastic. Because it's helping you program. And you don't need to know anything about programming, by the way.
Right.
It just
I've used it. I use it a lot for that. I just have it right, just like little in there. It's so fascinating. Because it's one of those where it is a computer. To ask it to write something for you, we'll get it done. Maybe not as efficiently as like a software engineer would do it after, hours and hours of trying to build the same thing.
Yeah.
However, it will still get it done for those people who don't have the experience.
Yeah. For me,
As
one
you were,
last thing.
yeah, go ahead.
Keep that question there. So for
Well,
me,
it's my question. Yeah, as I say, you go ahead, and then because my question is a little bit off subject, so you go first.
Oh yeah, I want to do the last thing with it. So, for instance, one of the things that I used to have assistant for. I'm an artist, public artist, and so I have to ask for a job every week. I have to go and see what are the deadlines, and that's a lot of work that I was paying people to do. Like go to all these outlets, try to see, read through the requirements, are really a lot. Sometimes they're PDFs full of stuff. Tell me if I'm eligible. Tell me if this is something I should do. Blah blah blah. And when I'm saying that there are a list of hundreds of those a week, hundreds. So I don't want to spend my week applying for jobs, because in order to get these commissions, I have to apply for them. Okay. So this is what I had an assistant for many years, and it was great. We used to work together, and I mean, it always been remote after 2020, and we just looking for the stuff, and I would meet with them and say, oh, this is a good idea, and then I would say, for instance, oh, for the letter, because we have to write letters, I would just come up with an idea and go, oh, okay, what do they want? Oh, this is a university. Oh, okay, so maybe we should do this and this and that. It was just like brainstorming, and it was boom, done. Okay. And then they needed to write the letter. Then they were sending it to me. Then sometimes I was like, I don't want to use this word, blah, 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 blah. But it would, it was work. So I was paying quite a good money to have this thing. So when AI came, I was like, I need to learn this, because if I can make this work for me in a way that I don't have to have spend all the time doing this and have these people. So this is one of the areas where that's why I started doing AI. And it has been so amazing, because I just feed it with all the information. They already know my letters of recommendation. I dictate ideas from here and there, and I go, oh, this one with that one. It reads me back what I'm saying, and things that used to take me 2-3 days, now it's just I can do everything in 3 hours. So there's a lot of efficiency there, I think.
Yeah, that, and the podcast that I was referring to, for everybody listening, is it's the What Is Money show, and the episode is with Jeff Woods. Jeff is spelled Geoff. I think it's pronounced Jeff, I'm pretty sure. And that's exactly what you were just saying, is exactly what he is kind of teaching people how to do, which is to create a thought partner. And you can kind of think of it as an extension upon your rationality. And I think the revelation that came for me during this podcast is that, really, speaking of kind of cycles, but it's like ever since we really had our major fall, you could say, from like Atlantis, however many 15,000 years ago. I think it's kind of theorized is that we're been in the cycle of separation, and separation from oneness, separation from intuition, and it's been a very, very masculine and rational, kind of super cycle. And I think that AI is really almost a culmination of that. And there's really kind of two different directions that it can be taken. It can be taken in the direction of, well, are you going to fall subservient to this thing? Is it going to, dictate your life? Is it going to be the authority that gives you all of the information, that gives you all the direction? Or on the other hand, is it going to basically free up so much of the rational energy that is now required at this stage in humanity, because we have been so deeply entrenched? I think that we're finally at kind of a precipice. So I think that was what was really exciting. It's like there's so many things that you can do to work through strategies that you would probably do on your own, but like you said, it would take multiple days to challenge yourself by asking yourself these questions and figuring out what's most important.
So thinking about the astrology also of the times and what we've been working from in the last years, it's been about understanding that if a human being doesn't have agency, it's not free, period. And that means if government comes and takes your money away, you just comply with it. And then you don't have any power. You're disempowered. If the government or the state says that you have to get all these things in the body, you're disempowered. If a machine comes and tells you what to do, you're disempowered. So at the very end, no matter what comes or what is it that you're experiencing, if you are a human being nowadays with no agency, you're doomed, period. There's nothing you can do. And if you have not worked towards having your own agency, I still think that there is time, but you got to do a lot of work, because it's about understanding where you're really complying, which part of yourself is complying to others because you're afraid of being authentic, you're afraid of bringing that intuitive part. You see, human design is amazing, is because it teaches you how to use your own strategy using your own authority. So, for instance, I'm emotional, so I have to wait time in order to make decisions. Other people are splenic, so they just make a decision based on patterns. They go, no, this is not good for me. They have instinct. Other people have the sacral. Other people have the mental self-projection. So, it's very interesting. If we were more in tune, and again, we're talking about that word from the very beginning. If you're in tune with a certain kind of frequency, you're not against your own self. You're actually finding things, and you get events that are synchronistic, that are aligned with who you are. So AI will not harm you. The government will not harm you, because you will know what to do. You will know what to do because you're following your own inner authority. So I think that there is a good amount of people, and though I don't know with percentage, I mean, I don't want to do pretenders because there are very few that are really doing their thing. But I'm an optimist, so I think that even though they don't seem to be that many, I do think that there are many people who are even at the last minute trying to wake up more and to become more free. I do feel so. I also feel like there are more Bitcoiners right now than there were, like, I don't know, 5 years ago. So people are more aware of it.
So the other question I was going to ask you, so then where does social media fall in this?
Oh, it's going to end. Social media is finito. I laugh so much because, it is. I mean, not exactly finito. It's just going to stay there almost like a ghost place. Like, it's going to be like this, like ghost towns, like the malls, like blockbusters, shops, they're going to stay there for a while. I mean, you go to cities in America right now, and they're like, and you see that there were all these big malls where people used to go and gather and hang out. They're not there anymore. People just do social media, the phone. But then I know so many people who have left social media. I have not left because I'm not the kind of person that kind of goes like, oh, I'm going to stop doing this. I just, I don't look at it that much, but I do post some stuff because I have the blog. So I want people to know that I'm writing, blah, blah, blah. But I don't spend hours scrolling. I couldn't care less in X or Substack. Like Substack became the next thing after people were so angry at Elon. And so it's full of crap. Right now, Substack is full of shit. It's full of crap. It's just, and so I still read few people. So because I'm interested in ideas and I'm interested in people, I don't know, supporting thought and new ways of thinking, that's what I'm interested. But social media, like how we know it, it was two planets that they merged in 2011. Uranus, the planet we're talking about, entered Pisces, entered Aries, and Neptune entered Pisces. So for the last 14 years, Neptune was in Pisces, which is very confusing. Now it moved to Aries, and Saturn's going to move there. And so there's more possibility right now for humans to be more accountable and more trying to create a structure about what individuality means. Because we cannot, this world is not about to be saved. It's not about saving people. It's really about being your own person and being authentic, and that's the only way you can serve. So social media erupted in 2011, the kind of social media that we have right now, because we had Facebook before, but this kind of the selfie and the
man. Yeah.
promoter, the guru,
Oh,
I'm going
plastic.
to teach you everything on Instagram in 3 minutes kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That exploded. 2011, but it was from 2014 onwards, like the last really, 7 years or so, even. Very, very acute, very like it's so much noise, and there are
Yes.
people who made a lot of money. Like, I was amazed because I actually have a nephew who makes a lot of money as an influencer. I didn't know he was an influencer.
My mother-in-law also.
It's like, what? And I'm like, dude, and it's funny because he's doing it. He was, since very little, he was riding horses, and he did something called vaulting, which is acrobacy on top of a horse. And he was going all over the world doing this, and he's very committed. And then all of a sudden he started, I don't know, doing videos of handstands and stuff like that. And now he's a trainer, and he sells courses with so much money, makes so much money. And he's happy. He's actually adorable. So he's also using exercise, flexibility to train the mind. So because he's very interested in also in evolution and stuff like that. I've been trying to orange pill him, but he's not listening to me, because I'm like, dude, what are you going to do with all that money? But he'll be ready one day. I don't know.
Yes.
But
all in due time. Each of us will.
But it's interesting. There's all these people who made, and I'm not, I wouldn't like to be that, to be honest, because I think that influencers are not free, because they depend on likes and numbers. They actually have to do a lot of stuff. They have to sell stuff.
Well, and like my wife is she likes to spend time on Instagram and TikTok, and I ask her like, what, because I don't have either of those platforms, and it's like, how do you know when something is sponsored? And she's like, well, it's down below, and like it's on the video, it says that it's sponsored. And I was like, and so I've glanced over her shoulder and watched the videos and stuff, and not a single one of them says sponsored right on the video. But no, you have to go up to like the comments, and then it says sponsored somewhere, but it's not like immediately obvious that it's sponsored. And I mean, and anymore, I can just about guarantee that every, I don't know, actually, I guess I shouldn't even guess a number, but I know that people are just flying through these videos, and they have no idea if there was some kind of monetary incentive for that person to create the video. I mean, and it wasn't genuine, it wasn't authentic. It was because a company reached out to them and said, hey, we would like you to promote our product, and at the end of the day, the libertarian or the capitalist in me is like, yeah, that's a good thing, they're providing value. But at the same time, being inundated with advertising on a day-to-day basis, I don't think is necessarily a great thing either, because I just think that it leads to a deep-seated materialism that can be extremely harmful and depressing for people.
And then they become like slaves of that. I mean, I see a lot with the podcast. Like, I love all the Bitcoiners, but my God, I mean, some of them right now, they have, I don't know, 3 minutes of just blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I have to make a living. And it's like, wow. Like that for me is like, it's already stressing me out, like thinking, oh my God, like if I had to do that and I have to go and get and then talk about it. But hey, they're doing what they're doing, and I'm getting information. So, I just scroll through the whatever when they have the announcements. Some people, like Breedlove, he is kind enough to put the timestamp, so I just go.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Robert, I'm not going to listen to all the stuff that you sell.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm not. I don't. So it's funny. And this is one thing, for instance, Jack Mallers says all the time, it's like, ad free, but he can, he's Jack Mallers, so he can actually, he can afford to do that. But this is an interesting question, because, for instance, my blog, Substack is an interesting place. I've been writing for 3 years, and they were pushing people to have subscribers because some people, a lot of writers are making a lot of money. If you consider people paying $5 a month, and you have, I don't know, 30,000, 40,000 people reading, hey, why not? Of course, I don't have that amount by a million. I don't. And what I've been building for the last 3 years is this, trying to have my voice that is very raw and is very personal, and it's very, I'm synthesizing. I'm not telling a real story. I'm just going back and forth through things. And few months, like last year, I was like, oh, maybe I should try this thing. And I tried for a month or two to charge. And I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing, because I was having a problem when to post like free stuff and when to put behind the paywall. And I had subscribers that they had paid. And I was feeling, but this is ridiculous. So I was always hesitating. Should this paragraph be here and there? And then one day I said, fuck it. And I just wrote a thing, and I said, I'm sorry if you paid already. I'll give you something. I don't know. I'll send you another book. I don't know, something. But this thing is going to be for free, because I don't want to be slaving myself to try to please somebody for $5. I can't.
Right.
I want freedom.
Well, now that's what happens when you're a Bitcoiner too. You kind of lose. I think Bitcoin just becomes ultimately a mindset shift from high time preference to low time preference. And so when you're not, so for like in my journey personally, I think that I had that shift, but I still have like the money fear patterns. So it's hard to try to like to strike a balance, to know when to ask for money, because I kind of decided that's like, yeah, I don't want to push so hard for money, because it just feels so, like kind of like we said, it's just like stupid. This doesn't make any sense. I would rather provide somebody with genuine value than try to shill a product, or try to structure an article in a way that incentivizes people to want to pay me.
But there's difference, because for instance, you can say like in my thing, it's like book a session. I have people booking sessions with me, or buy the book. People buy the book, or sometimes people want to have more than a session. They have a mentorship, or they want to have a study group. So there are ways that I can monetize that, but it's not the primary thing. Like for instance, I don't go on social media saying that I do charts. I mean, I can talk about astrology, and people kind of then say, oh, do you agree? Yeah. Do you charge? Yes. Okay. So then, just I established that connection, but it's not me going like, by the way, in the middle of it, it's like, you can have your chart. It's like, if you want, do it. If you don't want, don't do it. So, but it's interesting, because I think we're changing that model right now. And again, there's the whole reset of money. It's interesting how many people are going to be able to understand the collapse, if there is any, because honestly, at this point, I don't think they're going to allow it to collapse. We've been waiting for the collapse, but I don't think so, because I think that what Trump is doing, and they're really resetting the economy in ways that nobody expected. I was reading an article today, like how, because everybody who's running this government, they're all businessmen. They're all been very successful businessmen. People running this country. So let's see if they're going to try to save the dollar, the gold standard. I have no idea. It's so, and so I stopped worrying about that. It's the end of the world. It's just keep on creating.
Yeah.
And if you,
Same. And my cynical prediction was that because there was so much just like vitriol for this man, that and that the system seems to be so like deeply controlled by a really powerful group of people, that they would use him as kind of a scapegoat, and they would use him as an opportunity to kind of reset the system and really make it collapse. And and there's plenty of time, I guess, for if they were to have that play out, for that to happen. But yeah, kind of like you said, it does seem like, even though there's been some definite pain points, it does seem that they're making some positive changes in some regards at least. So
we'll see. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm always optimist. I hope that, the meaning of not wanting to keep on having babies killed all over. I mean, I'm devastated when I look at news, but I decided I can't post anymore. I mean, what do I do posting like don't kill more babies? Because it's an oxymoron. It's like, of course, don't kill more babies, So at the very end is just and this is the way I think I can contribute, and I don't know if it sounds lame or not. Like if I tune into my right frequency and in a right state of mind, and I create stuff and I resonate with the highest possible of intentions, then I'm contributing to humanity. And if I pray or whatever I do, I make wishes for the people to do the same. That's the best that I can do on a daily basis, as opposed to start fighting online with people, for or against. So I do have, for instance, I do have the president and his intentions in my prayers every day. I was like, please make the best of your intentions. So we're not going to die sooner, It's like,
Well, and the reality is that we are still part of a collective conscious where, this man in particular plays a large part in how things happen. And so it's important to take that, I think, into consideration, but with a high level of consciousness as well. So instead of trying to fight it, instead of trying to prove yourself right or wrap your pride up in it, it can be an opportunity to actually shift the field. So, and this is basically exactly what I'm doing, the same as you. It's just like, I don't want anything really to do with the news anymore. I don't really care to scroll Twitter anymore or anything, because there's just so much kind of doom and gloom, and you can feel your energy get wrapped up into these pendulums, which is from the Transurfing book, which I started to read again. And that instead of letting your energy get wrapped into these negative pendulums, you can stop giving it energy, you can stop giving it momentum. And you can do that by effectively just becoming aware of how you interact with it. Sometimes you're kind of forced to interact with them. Like one of the great examples in the book is your boss might come to you at work and have you do something that just makes absolutely no sense, but the reality is this person is your boss, and if you don't listen to them, then things get really, really bad for you. So instead, it might be easier to go along with it, but go along with it consciously. And you will see that as you go along with it consciously, the fields will naturally kind of align the way that they're meant to, and you'll find that it's not quite as painful of an experience as it would have otherwise been.
Yeah. It's all about perspective at the very end, because for instance, if you enter a conversation and you have not had breakfast, or you just like felt awful and you don't have a lot of patience, then the way you're going to be reactive. But if you have done your meditation, you went for your walk or whatever, you don't think is the end of the world as they're positioning the question, then you can actually have some perspective and say, it's okay. And I think this is very important right now, because there are so many people still holding on to that truth, like if it was the end of it. And what I have learned through these years actually was that I had to change. Uranus came into 2018, came direct into my Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet that defines ideals, ideologies, philosophies. And that's when I felt like my earth was like the rock was being pulled, because I was asked to start thinking about things differently. And and Jupiter in Taurus is like, no, stubborn, this is my way or the highway. And that's the way I used to be. So for me, I changed a lot since 2018. I allow new things to be shown to me, and that's why I was open to Bitcoin at one point, because I like, when I think about it, it's like, how did I even found this? Because I was not open to any of these things, because I was busy doing something else. So I think it's very interesting when you allow new perspectives in your life, then things become relative, and you only put the energy that it needs if it needs it. Because if it doesn't need it, you don't need to put any energy. You don't need to oppress anybody. You don't need to push anybody. You don't need to. it's what I feel is like if the other person is genuine, asking something, then I engage. So I actually have been able to perceive sincerity in people who want to have a conversation about different points of view. And I've been able to do that. That's what I was saying, that I was doing kind of like keto. Not long ago, somebody posted something like, oh, who voted for Donald Trump? I want you to, but not like convince me, but I have these questions, and very interesting questions. And so we started talking about immigration, which I know a lot because I'm an immigrant and I did the whole legal part. And then I started introducing a lot of libertarianism and money issues. And so it's interesting because the person said, oh, because he bought my book and says, I bought your book, but I haven't read it. And now I understand why your book has like Bitcoin and other things in it. And now I understand your way of thinking. But he had not put things together until we had the conversation, which is very interesting. Because maybe for him, the book, when he opened it up, is like, oh, this book is all over the place. It's like, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's all kind of woven together.
Right. I think that's I think this is, at least it seems to me, and this isn't, I guess maybe it is, it's confirmed astrologically as well, but with the advent of AI essentially breaking all of the influencer, social media, basically all of the current peak fiat internet that exists today, AI is just breaking it because it's inundating us with a bunch of noise. And it's forcing us to once again get satisfaction from genuine connection and conversation with real people. And I think that's why I feel so much more aligned with something like Nostr, because it's not a social media protocol per se, but it's more of just a way to communicate publicly. So the way that I kind of look at it is, it's almost like having a public email address that just also so happens to be spread around easily by a bunch of servers. And if I want to share things in the world, it can get shared that way. But I'm not doing it to make money or trying to get views, but instead I'm trying to get back to what the original internet looked like, which is a place for people who were inspired to share with one another and to connect with one another, and ultimately leads to more growth and fulfillment in individual people's lives.
Yeah, it is true. And for instance, it's interesting because for me, Nostr still, like, I post stuff there, but it still has, because of the habit of having been in social media all these years, it still has this thing is like, oh, I need to post there. Oh, I need to post it. But I'm gonna be honest. These days, I don't even look at stuff from anybody. I just don't. I don't have the mind for that, because I'm reading like 3 books at the same. I'm studying. Well, AI is one of the things. Another thing that I'm studying, it's I'm going down the rabbit hole of all like the U.S. Constitution and the history of economics in America. Like I'm studying history of this country because I really understood before the elections and through the whole thing is that there's so much about this country that I don't know. And there's a reason why I came to live here. And I love being here. I really love the principles of here. So I just said, I need to go down there because I didn't study that in history because I didn't, I was not born here. I studied the history of my country, or more like general history. So I've been spending time going through that and understanding so many things that I kind of heard about it, but I didn't know. So it's been a beautiful rediscovery of the principles of the country and how this country came to be, and how many of those things are no longer valid or they've been taken away, like all the rights that are being taken away. Because I think it's quite unique, this place, very different from other places. If you compare right now with Europe, these people have no freedom at all. And they don't want to have freedom. Actually, they don't. All my European friends is like, why are you making such a big fuss? And I'm like, what? These people just love to be under a state that is giving them money. They love it. They just love to be slaves, but they don't know that they're slaves, which is the interesting thing.
Right. Yeah, they're sort of happy, and I think they're happy kind of living in their it's like a false sense of safety. So it's like the same system that inundates you with constant fear also just so happens to be the provider of safety too.
Yeah, but they don't want to go like what I noticed, because I had this kind of conversations. I'm no longer having them because they come and they ask me, but they want to know very fast, but they don't want to dig in. And so I'm like, okay, I can't be there all the time, like waiting for have a conversation. But I feel if you were brought up in a place where you have felt safe. Let's say that you live in an aquarium and you're a fish, and so you have the owner that gives you the food and change your water, or your water filter is always hitting the water. You're not going to want to live somewhere else. Why would you?
Mm-hmm. It'd be too scary.
It would be too scary. And also maybe they're going to bring more fish that are more predators, and then the aquarium is going to get more dirty and stuff like that. But then do you want to fight and jump out of the fishbowl just because you have other kind of more weird fishes coming in, immigration, as you know, and violent, because sometimes there's some species that they don't like each other. There's this story of this fish that they put in the Caribbean. I forgot it. It's called pez globo. I think it's like bubble fish. I don't know the name in English. And they brought it from Southeast Asia and they just dump it in the Caribbean. And that little fish has been eating all the other fishes. They move it from his own environment, and so humans sometimes we do stupid stuff like that. So it's interesting when you are in that fishbowl, you don't think so. And that I think that's what happens to a lot of people that grew up in Europe, socialist Europe, like Sweden. I was married to a Swede, so I know Sweden very well. I know France very well. These people don't want to make a change because things have been working. And even right now with all the immigration and all the problems, they're looking another way. They go like, oh no, but we have to be humanitarian. You go, what? So you're going to let everybody be killed because you want to be humanitarian? I mean, what does that even mean? So it's interesting. It's interesting to see the fall of the civilization that is going to be because of ignorance. That's it. People not wanting to ask more questions about, is this related to money? Is this related to, I don't know, the Federal Reserve? You don't want to do it. And if you tell them, they go like, no, I don't want, because this is what they ask him. It's too complicated. I don't want to know about it. Or they say something like, does this have to do with Bitcoin? I go somehow. They go, no, I don't want to know. They look at you. It's like, okay, that's more Bitcoin for me then. Like, what can I say? It's very interesting. But I'm optimist. I'm positive. I think that we're moving towards a place where the people who have the awareness, the people who want to be creative, the people who want to learn more things, the people who want to have their hands ready and dirty, they're on it. I have that feeling. I don't know if you feel the same.
Right. Oh yeah. I went to a Bit Devs meeting where I live, and yeah, I got that very sense from the people there. They're just ready to continue exploring these deeper, I would say, the deeper topics of Bitcoin, but I think the underlying vibration and intention that they're really attuned with is just individual empowerment. And that's really what the Bitcoin Consciousness Project is all about. It's about people who want to connect more deeply to their inner selves, or it's like the deepest level of self-sovereignty that you can possibly find. And so yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in our community and with the podcast is it's just a place for people to continue exploring the philosophies and also the fields, the vibrational fields, and to clear that stuff and to approach that stuff and to ask questions and have their thoughts and beliefs shaken and reshaped. And yeah, there's definitely a group of people who are ready for that, who want more of that, because they're just really, they just hit a dead end with the old way of life. And then there's other people who are really digging in their heels, and both, I guess, feel that this is the right thing, but
yeah,
I don't know. It certainly doesn't seem very fun the other direction.
Yeah, no, I think it's positive. I mean, again, I had written a little about the possibility. I do feel, for instance, that Bitcoin, it's growing up, and so we need, like, the whole field needs to be more mature. So, for instance, when you still see that people are trying to keep on fighting, because that's the only thing that I'm seeing these days, and it's not about being right or wrong, but it's like, come on, keep on fighting, people just doing people. And you say, well, what can we do with it next? So, for instance, the whole thing that is happening with micro or strategy, because that's the name of the company right now, and what Jack Mallers did with 21 Capital and all that. This is something that I saw that it was going to happen, because this is a sense of maturity. This is when you see that an asset like Bitcoin, it's actually proving to be correct. And it's proven to be very valuable. Like, what will be the next step to do that? And so you see, I think it's the guy from, what's his name, David Bailey. He's also launching his reserve. Like, everybody's doing it. So because it is doing it, and of course, some Bitcoin's like, oh, we shouldn't have governments involved. We shouldn't have this. It's like, Bitcoin will do whatever Bitcoin wants to do, because Bitcoin is.
You don't really have a choice. Yeah.
No, and also because Bitcoin is all the people. It is all the people. It's not just one person. So for me, it's very interesting to see the arc of it and see, okay, so something shifted in the last year since the last halving. And what is it that it shifted? Is it becoming more mature? Is it going to be used for better good? Is it going to be diluted? Is it going to keep, what about, because I think that the whole thing about spam and the miners and everything is about security, and how secure is it going to be, and so on and so forth. So I think it's interesting to see the development of it in the way that Bitcoin is made out of the people who are Bitcoining. So if our frequency is not that high, or we're not that in tune with what is right, well, we're going to see it in the result. I don't think that we should ever, and this is one thing I've been talking before, we should not project Bitcoin as a savior. That thing about Bitcoin fixing that, I hate that phrase. And they keep on saying
Bitcoin fixes everything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because it's not about fixing. It's about, okay, are you authentic enough? Are you free in your life? Are you free at all levels? That's what Bitcoin's going to be, because it's part of the particles. We're talking about astrology before, like the particles that we're made of. Bitcoin is part of that too. It's part of the food that we
Bitcoin
eat.
is just in a reflection. Yeah.
It's a reflection, but it's also it's a value system. So it is embedded in every choice that we make. And if you start like dealing with it, like, I accept Bitcoin, I pay with Bitcoin. So for me, it's been part of my life as a day to day. And I love it because I buy, I do DCA. So for me, it's part of the process, keep on stacking. But whenever I can pay somebody in Bitcoin, I do that, because I want to receive in that. So it has become a medium of exchange for me. And more than just an ideal for the future, of course, low time preference, but I just think that it's such an amazing technology, like AI, how can we discover it and make it more usable and more, I don't know, conscious. It's just the conscious choice. I just love it. I love Bitcoin so much. Like the whole concept of it.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible, and we are actually living in a timeless universe, I guess, where it's happening simultaneously. And so, my model of Bitcoin and money in general is that money is like the penultimate reflection of value creation and the way that we perceive it flowing between one another. And so if we are afraid of, if that process is a fearful one, then we're going to end up with something like fiat money. And if that process is a self-empowered one, it's a higher vibration, then we're going to end up with something that is self-sovereign and that honors, more accurately honors and represents the higher self. And so you can almost look at Bitcoin as like, because it's the money of the future, it's reaching back, it's leveraging the greed and the fear initially. And this does just for individuals, because they get in, they see how much, Bitcoin goes up over a year or two, and they're like, wow, 200%, I need to start trading that. They start trading it, they fail miserably, they get into shit coins, and then ultimately something in their vibration shifts, because they've touched this money, they felt it, they've understood it, they get to know it better. And then, so it's like all of these things are shifting in a timeless way to the upgraded humanity. At least for some people it is. Some people want to continue, and my hope is that, my super optimistic hope is that for governments it will be a similar story as for the individual, which is governments will buy it because they'll see it as an opportunity to make a lot of money. And I hope that they come for the gains, but they stay for the revolution themselves as well. I hope that so many people touching it will also shift their vibration too.
I think something that you said, sorry, I wanted to intersect that. Something you said is like the awareness that Bitcoin can bring to people or countries, it's directly proportionate to the evolution that we can have. Because let's say this way, like you start seeing the potential financially, because obviously everybody goes like, wow, all this stuff, the price. But then if you see, it's not just price, but it's value, because there's a big difference between price and value. When you start seeing the value of it because of the scarcity, then everything in your life can change, because then you start thinking of your life differently. And this, for me, was the big awakening with Bitcoin. It's like when I understood that, it's no longer about price. And so that's when you start thinking, okay, how can I accumulate more? Because at the very end, it's like you feel safe because you have a little stack somewhere. And you know that things are valued different, and you're not just going to go and live a high time preference anymore. For me, I mean, the big thing that changed so much in my life was that high time preference. I was a New Yorker. New York is all about high time preference, all about going out, spending. I did a couple of things in the last few months that make me feel like I was doing a high time preference, but I did them with a lot of thought. Like one of them was going to New York for a day for a concert to see my beloved Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I wanted to go and see that concert because in Miami they don't come here, and it was a costly thing. But then at the end, I look at my numbers and I said, I have not spent this amount of money in 3-4 years. I think I can go. You know what I mean? But before, it was a no-brainer. Before, it was just buy here, go there, fly here, go there. And so I have become more intentional with money, because I understand that it's different. For me, money became a different thing, and the value, not the price, but the value of things is just, it changed all my life, everything. And I think that when governments or states or people start accumulating and Bitcoin and learning about it, because it brings it, I think the Bitcoin also opens a consciousness and awareness. It's here's like a potential for living in a different reality. That's why it's so strong, I think.
When we live a life that is primarily based in fear, then our primary value is going to be safety. So when when you make any decision, you're going to be making any monetary decision, you're going to be making it from the place of, does this feel like a safe decision? And that's completely the whole vibrational, I guess, spectrum of the fiat money is just so much different than Bitcoin, because you don't feel like you need to fear anymore. Like at its base, the price that matches the value will, the idea is that it will continue to hold its value. It will continue, you don't have to be fearful that that's going to go away. But in the fiat mindset, because the entire idea is that it loses value over time, then you should be afraid of that. What are you going to do to stay ahead of that fear? And it's just exhausting. And I hope that people like us in this, having this conversation, and people like the ones in the community are inspired to just approach all of this from a vibrational standpoint, because I think that there's a lot of almost responsibility on this group of Bitcoiners, because as crazy as we kind of probably sound to the rest of the Bitcoiners, everything is a vibration, and money is no different. And so if we treat it that way, we could make a change overnight. But it ultimately comes from every single one of us individually, and what level are we willing to commit to that and make that promise for
but
ourselves.
It depends on the individual. It depends, like if you're going to tune into your own frequency of being you, which is called authenticity or accountability, whatever. Like there are many names for that. So at the very end, it's not a collective thing. And this is another thing that we're going to be seeing, is that all this collectivism that it has been so intense in the last 5 years, because a lot of people, they all became NPCs. They were so afraid. Again, it had a lot to do with fear, the fear of dying, the fear of not being able to be next to the loved one, because you cannot travel, because you cannot hug, because you cannot, a lot of stuff were played, and a lot of people like play that game because fear is something that eats you up. Fear is something that restrains you from moving. Fear is something that crystallizes and it impedes you to be. It's just like you can die of fear. Literally, you can die of fear. So I think that the opportunity right now is that people who didn't abide their lives by fear, like I'm included, like I did not. Like fear for me has always been like the juice that I need, the fuel that I need to move to another step. When I find myself in places where I can feel a little bit of fear, I hold space and I just say, okay, so what is it that, my question is always, what's the worst thing that could happen?
That's a signal to you, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a trigger, but I love those triggers. So fear comes. For instance, I don't know, I can tell you something stupid like, oh, I don't have enough Bitcoin, whatever, that kind of fear. And then I sit down and I go, okay, so what's the fear? And I said, so I don't have enough Bitcoin. I said, so how does that feel? And I said, well, it feels horrible. It feels like I'm incapable. Like, I start saying things, and then I listen to what I'm saying. And then I hold space for that. And then I start asking myself, where do I feel it in my body? Is it something that I can place somewhere in my body? And usually I can, take deep breaths. And then I kind of pointed that this here is this color. It has this kind of texture. Does it move? Does it, breathe? Like, what is it? And then when I'm giving that space to the fear and I ask question directly, what is the worst thing that could happen? What happens immediately is really funny, because I start giving the answer of like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that. So then I find myself with like 3 or 4 different solutions. And then I start laughing when I realize, and I said, why are you so afraid? You have so many plan B, you have plan A, right, plan B, plan C. And that's when fear goes like, oh, you're a party pooper. I have to go somewhere else. You just destroyed the fear, because I destroyed it. I completely, but I actually engage with it. I engage with it immediately. Same with anger. With anger is a little bit more difficult for me because I tend to be an angry person. Like, because anger is like, and so before I just start smashing something, I go, I call myself like little Monica, like my mom would call me. I go, let's take a deep breath. And I go, and I go, come on. And so I have to almost walk me if I was like 3 years old and I'm about to have a tantrum. So I have to like, and then immediately like, how are you feeling? Much better, much better, much better. But because I have to catch me just before I get really upset, because I am more like bad temper person, angry. I get upset when things don't work my way. Like for instance, 2 weeks ago, when I was in Seattle, was 3 weeks ago, installing. None of the things that they were supposed to happen happened. Everything didn't arrive in time. I mean, one problem after the other. And every day, I was there for 6 days. I was like, I am going to explode. And at one point, I was just, I'm just going to have fun, because there was nothing I could do. I had to accept. But I was upset because there were things that were made. The fabricators did not, half of the stuff didn't arrive. And then when it arrived, it was not exactly the way I ordered the things, and they had lied to me with time. So I just realized that a lot of the problems I had were miscommunication. And instead of being super angry with them, I just said, I'm going to take half of my responsibility, because maybe there was something about me not conveying the message properly. Maybe. So I'm going to take half. And so as soon as I accepted half of my responsibility, they were very yielding. And so we found a way to deal with it. But normally I would have, oh my God, it would have been so bad, like cursing and saying things, because that's the way I was brought up. So not cursing, but like being like fiery Colombian, right? Like
Right.
shooting people around. But now I'm more like, okay, let's take a few days. Don't answer that email. Don't call them. Don't say anything. Just breathe, 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 and try to think of other solutions. So it has been incredible for me the last few months, where I can actually see there's always a possibility for evolving. That's why I say that I really look forward the evolving moments, because then there's always a third way. If you go against the stream of water, maybe sometimes you just don't have to go immediately. Maybe allow it. So it's been quite incredible this first year, and I'm positive about what's going to develop. I'm more positive about now than I was 3 months ago. I thought the world was going to end this summer. No, truly. I was like, okay, there's going to be another war and it's going to be terrible. But now, I don't know. Nothing has been solved at all, but my perspective changed. And that's why I see more light right now. Because I changed my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how we're inevitably creating everything anyway. So that's really the best thing that you can do, because it's where your energy goes, or where your thoughts go. That's really what is created. So even though you don't think that you as one individual can actually make that change, I think that really changing your mindset altogether, and doing the work as well. You do have to do the shadow work. It's not quite as simple as some like The Secret, which is talks about the law of attraction, where you just shift to a positive mindset and everything's hunky-dory. You do have to go through some of that dark stuff and figure that out, but but you are creating.
How do you relate to the story about my grandfather when you read it, like the synchronicity?
Oh yeah, because you guys had really, really similar charts, basically, right?
No, so what? So just very short story. It's like because the interesting part here is that I had an online meeting of probably 20 minutes with somebody in Australia last year, around September, and he's doing family constellations or systemic, something like that. He calls that, and it's very intense. I didn't know
he
what to
told you to
expect.
connect with your grandpa. That's right.
Yeah, no, the thing is like I saw him on Instagram. This is one of the great things about it. It's like sometimes you connect with something and I go like, oh, I wonder. And I follow him for like months, and I was like, I'm not sure this and that. And then I don't know why one day I said, oh, I wonder if I get an appointment with him. I want to, my mother died. So I wanted to see if I could connect to like what is the teaching here? Like, what do I have to do? And so he's so booked that he didn't have space for like 6 months. And the only day that he could do it was the day of the anniversary of my mom, first anniversary of her death. And I was like, oh, this is quite symbolic, which happens to be 911, September 11th. And I was like, look, so that day arrived and I didn't know what to expect. So I connect, he's in Australia, so it's around this time in the evening. And he says something like, okay, what do you want? And I don't know, I want to connect. I've never done this thing before, blah, blah, blah. And so he asked me to do a couple of things with my grandfather and to talk to him or something. I don't remember because it was very intense and it was strong. And he asked me to close my eyes. I did whatever he asked me or say whatever, repeat, blah, blah. And then within 10 minutes, he goes, or 50, he goes, okay, we're finished. And I open my eyes and I go, what? And he goes, yeah, that's it. You're done. Bye. And I was like, what just happened? So I was a little bit kind of disappointed at the beginning because I thought it was going to be like a long session or something like that, or something was going to happen. But then the next day I got this pain. But it was horrible pain, horrible. I thought I had been stabbed in the back. And so it took me kind of like 24 hours to figure out that there were kidney stones. And I do everything natural, so I knew how to take care of them. But then I was like, this is related. There's something that I must be filtering, but I don't know what it is. So I waited. I said, I will know about it when I have to know about it. So this week, I started thinking about it. I don't remember why was it that I'm writing the article Uranus. Yeah, I'm writing about the 7 years, and I'm writing about my mom's death and everything. And all of a sudden, the image of this man appeared, like this guy Tiziano. And I said, "Oh my God, that was 9 months ago." And the kidney stones, and I said, maybe they were connected. And so I thought, I'm gonna call my aunt or my brother to see if they know the date of birth of my grandfather. I never met him because he died when my mom was 11 and my father died when I was 8. I said, I want to know if there's some sort of karma there, right? What happens when a girl doesn't have the figure of the father? What happens when her mother doesn't either? What happens to the ancestral line? What happens to the yin and yang energy? And I want to know that. So yeah, I made a connection. My aunt texts me the date. I do the chart and I'm like, holy shit, this chart is so connected to me, like in ways that is like you today with the moon and the Uranus thing. It's things like this happen to me. So I was able to decode what happened with the stones and what happened, like what is the meaning of kidney stones? What is the meaning of like hearing the pain of somebody? He died when he was young. He was 49 years old. I mean, I call that young because you're supposed to live until you're 80, right? 84, 85, 86.
Mhm.
So he was halfway of his life and he died from an ulcer. So I was trying to think, when people die suddenly or they die from an ailment, what is it about their emotional body that they're repressing? Because I've done a lot of somatic practice like that. And so I was thinking, oh, maybe he was repressing anger. And it was all there in his chart. I am a person that I don't repress anger at all. My mom did halfway. So I think that in a way, I learned through my mom's repression of anger and outbursts that she used to have, that I think that for me, it's better to understand how my anger works so I can actually say it without having to restrain. So this is one of the things that I learned. So what I called it synchronicity, the whole piece is that I was able to connect, like, I don't know, casually like this, that 9 months ago, I had that reading or whatever it was, somatic practice with this person. And then I was able to connect that I had released the trauma from the family, that it was how to say, like encapsulated, and it came energetically through my stone. So I was able to release it through physically. And I was able to release some of my mom's pain of not having a dad and my pain of not having a dad, because I've been working in therapy with that. So I don't know if it makes any sense, but it did make sense to me. So I wrote about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely makes a lot of sense. Because also, even especially lately, actually, I've been seeing a lot of synchronicities that align with value, actually. So been getting a lot of value from other people in the form of things that they're either giving to me, or I'm getting for much less money than you would if you were to go and get it brand new. So, and it's been a huge shift, I would say, because there's just been these few things here and there that I've been wanting, and I have not been, like, I would say, consciously setting an intention to manifest them, but instead just thinking about them, like, oh, it'd be nice to have one of these, and then just kind of let go. So it's like I'm putting in an order almost, but I'm not, I'm not pushing too hard for it.
Yeah,
So
they'll happen. And I think
very synchronistic.
Yeah, the synchronicities happen in the moment that you need to reveal. And the reason why it's connected to value is because this guy says that the relationship a woman has with the father, it's a sense of value. And because I did have a very short relationship to my dad because I was too young, I know for a fact that all my relationships, I was giving too much value to the other person before I was giving myself value. So I know, for instance, something shifted this week. And the thing that shifted for me was this. Let me try to say it. So, and it has a lot to do also with like scarcity and value. Like the word scarcity, when you think about it, when you think about the word scarcity, you always think something is lacking, right? Oh, something scarce is lacking. But if you actually take that same word and you say, well, when you don't have a lot of assets, they're scarce. That's why they become valuable. So you transform the energy of the word into a positive, not a negative. So I was thinking these days, and when I was writing this article, I had like a lot of meditation to do. Like, oh my God, this is so powerful! I'm getting all this insight. I was saying, how can I shift my perspective of value in my life? That I'm always looking to help other people with their sense of value. I'm always giving. I'm a very nurturer person. I'm always. So I'm thinking, oh, I know what I'm going to do. And this is a test that I'm going to do. And eventually I will let you know if I fail or not, is how to do it instead of being focusing on what I'm missing or what I'm giving or I'm receiving. Because at the very end, it becomes transactional. All these value things, I pay, you give, I give you, you pay, something like that. I was thinking more like my sense of value has to be embodied. And so I said, how do I do that? And I said, well, I don't have to prove it anymore because it has to come from the core of my bones. Like I am value. I have to breathe it. I have to be this. So this is my meditation from now on. Is because I was very focused on like being nurturing to others, opening my heart, etc. And yeah, so that's a big shift right now for me, embodying my value. And I don't even know how that's going
embodying
to
your
look.
value.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, no, it's really hard to put that into words because I don't know that there's a lot of people who have figured out what that means. Like I kind of understand it conceptually, to connect yourself to your value. I think that really it's just unconditional love, right? I mean, there is
in a
no
way,
condition in which you're not going to love yourself.
but it's I'm going to try to like decipher a little bit in words. So this is the thing. So when you are having a sense of lack because something is missing, so the attention goes to the lack, not to what
Always.
is okay. So the difference is when you embody the value, you're not missing anything because the body is the value. Your mind is the value. What you're speaking is already
what you have is
what you have. And one thing that I'm also writing about these days, it's about like experience and wisdom go hand in hand, but they're not the same. You acquire wisdom through experience. And so you can give your life a lot of value by experiencing a lot, by like being authentic, being yourself, having the knowledge. So when I say that the value is going to be embodied, is like I don't have to prove to anybody that I know and that I have and I can give, because I am going to be breathing it. So I'm not going to try to like compensate people. Oh, I see this person needs something, I'm going to give him something. Or because that's the way I used to see things. Oh, I can give something of value. I am of service, like this. And something has shifted in me, because I think that I was still going in this pendulum of trying to please others so I will be loved. Because I don't have the sense of value from my dad. See, I was 8 years old. So this thing that happened with this is very complex, because this thing that happened with with this guy and my grandfather, and me talking to my grandfather, and me kind of having an emoji exploding the last few days, is like, oh, I've been focusing on the wrong thing. I've been focusing on the lack. I don't have a father. I don't have value. I have to find somebody
Right.
who values me. And that was my relationships were like that. Like always finding people who found me fascinating. Like my ex-husband, my two ex-husbands that were like, oh, you're the best, you're the best. And I was like, yeah, I'm the best. And then I realized with time that I fell in love with with the way they saw me. But they never really saw me, because what they saw was this like projection of what they needed. Because at the very end, relationships are all projections. So I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be projecting a lack, or I don't want to be reflecting something fulfilling to anybody anymore. I'm not going to do that. And this is like a big step for me right now of understanding. How it's going to be, I'll let you know eventually.
Yeah.
I'm going to try.
Right.
That's where I'm going to be like meditating every day. Like, how can I embody this value every day, all the time? So I don't have to be looking. It's the same thing as the influencer with the likes. Because what you do with relationships, you start creating addictions. Oh, I need another shot of this. I'm completely addicted to coffee, like Nespressinos. I don't. And I try every day, like I should have 1 cup less. And I'm like, oh, but it's so good, so good. Love coffee. Just love it, And I'm not going to die from coffee, but anyway. So it's this thing that we have as human beings, that we're always looking for that other shot, other. I want to feel alive. So, but I don't want to do it with relationships and value and need. I can't do that anymore. That's my evolution now.
And I think this is actually a perfect segue, because I think now what's going to happen, now we have enough participants. You, a couple weeks ago, had offered up to do a little, I don't know what you want to call it, a course that kind of helps with people discovering their value and getting through some scarcity patterns. Do you want to tell people about that? And if they're interested in joining, we can put some more information in the description.
Yeah, I think it's like what I can show people how to do it is like we have parameters through our chart, like human design and astrology. So it's not going to be a course of either, but it's going to be like, okay, we prompt the charts, and I will show you like some archetypal language of how to. It's like an equation. It's like you can find your sense of value looking at the chart here. So it's going to be not me telling you what I think your value is. It's actually we look at your chart and it's there. There's nothing I can do. So then I show how it is. And then and it's basically teaching some keywords to make some phrases, because at the very end, astrology and human design, they're languages. And so if you learn how to read a certain way, like a choreography, I will say, then you can actually benefit from it, because when things are happening, like what I just described with the whole value thing, then you can actually make a practice out of it. That just as I described how I'm planning to do my thing. And it's going to be a test. It's going to be an empirical practice. So the sessions, what I want to do is like 3 sessions where first of all we just we meet and we talk about our charts in the way that I'm going to show you, and then I ask a lot of questions and give you prompts of what to look at, how to reflect those questions so you can come back and understand yourself from another layer, from the architecture of your being, kind of. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so you're kind of providing some, I would say,
Crayons.
individually unique models understanding themselves.
Yeah, but it's going to be through everybody's chart. So it's not like I'm not going to bring exactly. Like, I don't know, like Johnny Depp's chart. Like I don't give a shit about his chart. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I have some teachers that they go like, I used to get so frustrated with this teacher. He's like, Marilyn Monroe. And I would raise my hand and I said, what do I care about Marilyn Monroe? Why don't we do our charts? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I already prepared the chart. And I'm like, well, too bad. Because I'm not going to listen to Marilyn Monroe's. I mean, eventually, yes, you can look at charts like that. But why don't we work with ourselves? And so that's what I want to do is like, you know, put some people together. We just look at the chart. I'll show you, you know, this means this means that, this means that, and show you with the chart. So you start looking at stuff and tapping into like a deeper layer of your archetypal design. You have a design that is telling you things if you know how to read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are good prompts. So then, you know, everybody as the participant can then go into their own space, or perhaps even, you know, they could set up one-on-one sessions for one another and have conversations and do some vibrational work together.
Yeah. We can do that and then like give some parameters of like what is it to discover that you have those things. I mean, but at the end, I'm not going to say anything that you don't know. It's just I'm going to reaffirm with the chart.
Reaffirm.
It's a information. So what you do with that information is up to you. We can, we can share it and I'm there to answer as many questions as I can because I think it's great. But then you have an experience that you can actually deepen if you are willing to do that, because it's a choice. It's always a choice.
Yeah, you know, and for me, I think you a couple of weeks ago in the Bitcoin consciousness group, I had just hit a wall where I was just so fed up with my fear and my scarcity and lack patterns and my money patterns. I was like, I'm ready to hit this and I just want to be through it. I want to figure it out. You know, I feel like I've been working on this for years from a spiritual standpoint and nothing is changing, you know. So that was when you offered to do this, and that, I think, having some practical yet spiritually anchored insights as far as maybe some potential directions for me to go, because money is I think a really big part of a lot of people's purpose here, to figure out and to break a lot of their ancestry stuff, because it's ancestral stuff, because it's been holding us down for so long.
But this is important because we're going to change the word money to value. It's
to value, right?
So important to know the difference, because when you give like the frequency of the word money and the frequency of the word value are very different.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very different. So when you say, oh, money, I mean, it's like, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. So it's like, no, you gotta just say value. So value is more expansive because you can include so many things in value. And to understand what value is, you have to know what needs are and wants. So there's a whole choreography of like, if you understand what your needs and your wants are, then you can have a purpose, and then you can actually start saying, oh, this is what I need. And then you take care of those needs, and then you can actually start having a relationship with what you value. And this is what is important about understanding value, and therefore money, because money, it's inside of value. It's inside of it. And how you're going to you relate to it. Are you going to be hoarding it because you're afraid? Or are you going to spend it because you feel guilty? You know what I mean? It's like so many different ways to express money. But it's because there's no connection to value. And I know from a personal perspective with me, I always felt guilty being able to earn money. because I've always been earning money. Money came to me always easily. It just always like that. And then I felt so bad that other people. So remember these things called Kickstarters, like I think that you're okay. The very beginning, if you will send me a Kickstarter, I will always give you money, 500, 600. I always felt so guilty. I was giving everybody money for projects, always. Yeah. And then one day it's like, Monika, but you're not Bill Gates. I mean, I'm not a philanthropist. Why are you doing that? And then I started tapping into it. It's like, because I don't value myself enough. I feel guilty of having all this. So that was a deep dive into that. Part of the book that you bought, it speaks a little bit about that, but the one that I'm writing right now goes more specific about all the ideas about value in society and how it goes from feeling ashamed or feeling guilty and how to tap into it, because it's just a word. And I love what Mises says about value. It is subjective, so we better know what we like, because it is subjective. So if you don't know what you like and what you want, how are you going to keep track of your money?
Yeah, and you're right. I think that a lot of us don't know what we like and what we want. We can certainly spew off the things that we don't want and the things that we don't like, but when it comes to truly and under things that are aligned with our purpose, it can be really, really hard, which is so it's cool. I think that's what's cool about this particular offering, is it sounds like it's really designed to help people understand
it's
that.
very
So
practical.
I'm excited to.
I'm a very practical person. So I don't think that, I'm pragmatic. Let's put it this way. Like, I understand that I wouldn't be here without my spirit, but my spirit wouldn't be here without my body. So I am not having a fight between them. I'm just, I never have denied the existence of my spirit, and I never denied the existence of my body or the materiality. So I do have it very balanced in my life. So I have no problem talking about money. I have no problem talking about value. I'm super practical, super pragmatic. And that's why I'm an artist, because I want to make things real. I want them to be manifested. And so when I do this kind of, whether workshops or do study groups, they're all very practical. I want people to come up and finish with something by the end of the day, and they go, wow, that was valuable. I just spent 2 hours and that was like, wow, this is the whole feeling. And I don't like doing long stuff, because it's not about engagement. Like, I don't want to be there for a long time. No, you have the basics, you go and you practice, and then probably you can find something of value in the process. So yeah, that would be great. That would be great. We only need 3 people. I like to do things in little groups. So that could be something if people.
Yeah. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've been at it for over 2 hours now, so we should probably. I know
with me it's always risky. We can go for hours, but I think I'm good now.
It's been great. I'm so glad we could extend this conversation and get into some more topics that weren't centered around my chart too for people. So it's been really interesting. Can you remind everybody like how to get in touch with you and what you offer?
Yeah. Okay. So you can get in touch with me. The easiest way is to go to my blog. That is Monika with a K, Bravo.blog. And that's in Substack, but I have my own domain. And there you can see everything that I offer. My astrological readings, they're on the top. You can subscribe and read my stuff. It's for free. It's a free newsletter. I usually drop a new article every week, and I'm pretty good at it and solid. And I just speak about astrology, but I speak about life and I tell stories. And I do offerings of readings, astrological and human design. I also do mentorships. I do small workshops, and I'm primarily an artist. So, and you can buy my book there too. So that's
And the book is awesome.
Thank you. I know when you haven't been able to dive into it, but you love the drawings.
No, but thumbing through it, it's a really cool book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love that book. People respond to it differently. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for talking with me and spending so much time. I know that people will get a lot of value out of it, and it's always fun having these expansive conversations with you. So we'll probably do it again.
Yeah, thank you, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the weekend. And happy birthday to your little boy.
Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, I can't believe he's 5 already. It's
Aww. Crazy. Enjoy him. Okay.
I will. Thank you very much. You have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.